Hello everybody, how are you? We're back with another series of videos on preparations. This one is not going to be so much about items for hoarding as items to have. And there's a bit of a difference, and I think that you will become sensitive to the difference as we go through this series. And you'll be able to draw the distinction in your own mind, even if I can't do justice to it with words. We're talking about things that maybe are too expensive to hoard, or maybe are more about you having than being able to trade with them. That are about having one or two of rather than, I don't know, 50 of. And having said that, the lines are slightly blurred. It's not entirely a black and white thing, and then you might hear some of these suggestions and think to yourself, oh, that should have been on the first list. And we're going to begin with such an item. That is vehicle spares. We've spoken about having spare oil, and we touched on fuel filters and that kind of thing. And now we're going to go a little bit further and just remind you of the concept of having spare tires, spare filters, spare hoses. Man, spare engines and spare gearboxes if you can afford them. All we're trying to do is get them into your brains if you haven't thought of this before. I mean, sooner or later, your car's not going to run forever. And we can't all afford these things. I certainly can't. But I know that the guy who can will derive much benefit from them. Or the guy who can't afford them but works in a certain work where he's able to pick them up for free. Okay, so vehicle spares, give it some thought. You're going to need them. Get them if you can. Guys, hello. This is video number 2 on items not in the series. On items not so much for hoarding as for having. Item number 2 is solar panels. Look, guys, they're not cheap, but they're not that expensive either. I don't want to go into details, but I am familiar with the prices of solar panels, and although money doesn't grow on trees, if you're not factoring in things like batteries, if you're keeping it simple, if you're limiting yourself to having power during hours of sunlight, as we have about 14 hours a day of during summer, or 15 hours a day, I worked out the other day was about the longest sunshiny day, the summer equinox. Here in the Karoo, or in the region that we intend making our safe zone, if you can live with just 9, 10, 12, 14, 15 hours a day of electricity, then just buying a solar panel and an inverter and some cabling and an MC4 connector is not as prohibitively expensive as you might think from an inquiry that you made about going off-grid or taking your entire house and your family of 5 that use 250 liters of geyser water a day might have led you to believe. They're different worlds, guys, really. A single solar panel with the little gadgets that go with it can be achievable. It might not be the first item on your list, and it might be so low down on your list of priorities that you never get there. But let it not be said that it's completely out of the question. You decide. This is video number 3 in our series of videos on items to have but not necessarily to hoard or to stockpile or to build up large supplies of. We're not talking about hundreds of liters of oil that you can trade with everybody in a camp, everybody who's trying to cook food. We're talking about things which just one or two of may absolutely change the level of comfort that you experience during a crisis. Fishing gear, guys, fishing gear. Obviously, you want to have more than one hook. You want to have more than 1 meter of line. You want to have more than one sinker. You want to have more than one lure. But a set of fishing gear, a rod or two or three, excuse me, a set of fishing gear could be of the most tremendous advantage, especially given that we will be in the vicinity of South Africa's two largest rivers. I believe they're the two largest. So fishing will occur. Fishing will take place. There will be lots of fishing. The guy who has fishing gear, or the family that has fishing gear, will be able to participate in that to their great advantage. All right?